I'm going live now. Wait for this stuff to power up. All the things are doing their thing. I'm gonna play the music.
Hello.
There's the music.
Hi.
And let me just get things moving here. Sure that the Slack has the bat signal. Come on. Alright. Hurry up, Slack. What is it doing? Come on. Oh, okay. Just logged me out. That's great. Just do that. There we go. Channel.
Test 1, 2. Y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Bat signal is out. We're good there. Let's see. Let's make sure we are good to go on the website. Clearing the YouTube cache. Okay. Come on. All right. Live shows. Let's make sure this is working.
Firefox stopped the social network from tracking you here. Thanks.
Come on. Load faster. Alright. Cool. It's good, it's good, it's good. Come on. Come on.
Welcome to the first 10 minutes of the Mograph podcast, where Dave just talks to himself and encourages himself. Come on, Dave. You can do it. Come on. Come on. Ah, come on.
Alright. That's
What's up,
good. Let's
Farouk?
bring up our
What's up, Jason?
faces. Swaroop, Jason. Chris wasn't first this time. Imagine that.
Way to go.
Gosh.
Must be on vacation.
Yeah. Alright. Looks like we are good. Everything's rolling here. I'm going to start rolling my audio if you guys want to do the same thing.
Got it.
Check.
Test 1, 2.
Alright.
Rolling.
We're going here. Cool. Got my notes.
Check. Testing myself.
Watching my waveform. Okay. We're going to do a sync clap. So I'll say 1, 2, 3, clap. Alright. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All set.
All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. We are good to go. I don't have the chat though. Let me make sure what's going on with this chat. Okay. I have like no chat. Oh, why is this off? I didn't turn that off. There we go.
You must have.
That's weird.
Chat is ready to display.
All right, let's make sure the chat's working. Let me just say something.
Meow meow. Meow meow.
Hello.
Hello. Look like it's working.
Gotta give it a second. There it goes.
There we go.
Bleep. Tokyo Megaplex. Tokyo Megs in the house.
Tokyo Nuggaplex.
Nuggaplex. Oh, man. All right. Looks like everything is up and rolling. We got people in here. I think we're ready to do a shoe. Really good shoe.
Really good shoe.
Really good shoe. See, I'll log in my Twitters here. 2. All right. We're good. Everybody feeling good? Ready to go?
Mm,
You betcha.
All right.
let's do it.
Here we go.
Smoky Nugaplex.
Smoky O'Nuggaplex. It's good.
I like it.
All right, here we go. What's up and welcome to another Mograph Mocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt, and joining us today, we've got two of our good friends, Chris Priddy from 510 Giant and Eric Small from Nucleus.
Yo.
Hello.
And Mograph is a supplement to our site, mograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other Mograph stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects, plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man. You can email us, info@mograph.com. Let us know what you think about the show. Send us your feedback, your comments, your queries, your grievances, and your show topic ideas, like this one from Sarah, who says, "Hello, Mograph. I would like to thank you both for your wonderful contribution to the motion community. I'm always guaranteed a good laugh when the show goes live in my time zone at 5 a.m. on my way starting the day. So hello, maybe even right now you're watching. Any chance Mograph could have a show with Ash Thorpe? I hear Ash is a busy man, but it would be a great interview to pick his brain on some highlights of his career. Look forward to what Mograph has installed for 2020. Thanks for writing in. We will try to get Ash eventually. I think the gateway drug to Ash is going to be Mike Winkleman.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll get there. We'll get there. So, so quickly, week wrap up. I just wanted to say I've been working a lot on some projects using Turbo Squid models, and I'm a little perturbed at how they do business sometimes when it comes to models for Cinema 4D. I had a lot of problems with some things this week, and it's like they automatically assume you're an idiot, which I understand when you do tech support, but you're like, okay, I opened this model in FBX, and I opened it in 3DS, and I opened it in OBJ, and I opened it in whatever, Ogvorbis. No, I opened all the versions, and none of them are actually linking to any sort of materials, and the materials aren't working. You know, and then they ask you, well, what version of Cinema 4D are you on? I'm like, no, there's no materials in here. It's just a bunch of colors.
Yeah.
Then they allow models that still link to the absolute paths of people's textures on their machine. That needs to be the number one thing. I don't want to go in and fix 100 materials on a model that all point to F drive, Joe's texture files /
I mean, you can easily change them to local.
It depends. It depends. Because sometimes if you try and go in, it will actually work right off the bat. And you don't realize that it's like that because the way that the file is set up, once you move things around and you convert materials to Octane and you do all this, sometimes it gets a little hairy. But
don't they have like some kind of checking system for that to keep it like make sure the stuff goes up on their site is
you think
working?
they would? You think they
You
would?
would think.
They say they do though.
Yeah, and you know, I tried to do some conversions. I tried to convert something. Noseman's here. Oh my gosh, he is here just to mess with you, Chris. That's the only reason he's here. That's anyway.
He's like my worst fan.
Your worst best fan. Your best worst fan. No, the other thing that they do, like they tried to do a conversion of something for me that I needed because it was rigged, right? And it was very basic. They could have done it. It was an FBX. They could have done it. I needed it quick, and luckily Herrerasaurus was able to do it for me in Maya. But like 3 days later, I had put in the request anyway, and three days later they come back and they're like, well, we really can't get the rigging for this to convert. I'm like, somebody did it for me in 30 seconds. Don't tell me that. And then finally, my beef with Turbo Squid is they're still selling Cinema 4D files that were created in like version in 15.
Yeah.
It's like, you need to open this in another version of Cinema and then resave it and then open it. It's like, well, I don't have that version anymore on my computer.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's not cool. Like, you can't sell old versions of files and expect it to be okay. But that was my rant about Turbo Squid. But the other thing I wanted to mention is these Wise cams. If you haven't heard of them, dude, they are spectacular. $25.
They're great for what they are.
Exactly.
I mean, it's $25. You know, I saw an advertisement on Instagram. I was like, "What? $20? No way!" So I looked on Amazon. They were there. They were $20, and I had like $18 in Amazon credit rewards. So I was like, "Sure, what the heck? I'll spend $5 on a camera," and it works. Got it hooked up in my kids' room so I can watch him and tell him to go to bed, get off of his phone. You know.
Yeah, they actually have two-way communication on them, which is awesome. They're $25. They're in the impulse buy section at Home Depot. You know, and I had been hearing about them. I bought one on Amazon and I installed it inside of my 3D printer so that it can keep an eye on it. And what's great is it has a card in it as well, so you can not only stream it and you know, take videos and all of that to your phone, but you can have it record time lapses. It's got a night vision camera on it, so I'll turn on the night vision so you can really see inside the printer here. And what was the other thing about it? I was gonna say,
you put the SD card in and it'll record continuously for like a while,
a long time. But you can also set it up to go to your miscellaneous devices like the Amazon Echo, all the Google screen devices.
I have mine on the Google Home Hub, but every time I say, "Hey, you know, go to this camera or whatever," well, it takes forever to get there, and then I've got like a 45-second lag.
And then it like skips and acts all funky and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what the Google has been doing.
Watch it from my phone. It's no big deal.
Well, the thing is, the Echo one comes up right away. The Echo one is like bam, and it's right there. So I don't know why that one works better, but
just make sure that because it brings up the last image that it saw, because it's not streaming all the time. It brings up the last image. Just make sure the last image isn't you mooning your wife.
Yeah, don't put it in the bedroom.
They'll take a screenshot of it, and now it's saved in your pictures forever.
You know what? I'm all about cameras, and I'm all about all of that, but I do not want cameras in my house that are pointed at somewhere I might be. There was a bad incident with one of my friends with that one time, and I was like, you know what? That's a lesson learned ahead of time. Because my buddy and I were at dinner with a bunch of people, and he was talking about he has cameras installed in his house. So he has a roommate that we all know, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I got all these cameras set up, and check this out." And so my friend had just gotten home. Nobody was there because everybody was out of town. He had come back from a tour, and this is this guy's roommate, and he was tired, and he literally walks into the living room and takes his pants off. And right when he did that is when our friend at dinner decided to demonstrate these cameras to us.
That's funny.
So, it's just yeah, it's just weird. It's just weird. I can't. You gotta have. I mean, if you got other people living with you, that's weird. You don't want to do that. So yeah, so those are super cool. Great Christmas gift. This episode's sponsored by Wise Cameras. So. We also have a new Mograph article. This is about something Tim Clapham was actually working on. This is really cool. It's about AI and it's all these graphics that are done for this documentary that's coming out. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes. There's also a Cinema 4D update this week. Yeah. So what is this?
21.1, I think. Yeah.
Quick note on that: if you're running a Linux-based Max unlicensed server locally, you will need to update that.
I was reading that. I didn't even think it specified specifically Linux, did it? It acted like if you needed to update to R21.1, you needed to separately update your LS.
That is correct. There was an issue though with the licenses being released on the 21.001 license server, and then them not appearing on the 21.1 license server on the Linux machine. But it sounds like if you're running that license server on a PC or a Mac, there would be no problem. So very narrow window.
I understood some of those words.
It's a very narrow window of people affected, but unfortunately, I was one.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was reading that on the toilet, and I
sitting on the toilet.
Rolled on the toilet or
sitting
something.
on the toilet.
No.
Yeah.
Has anybody haven't had any other issues with it? I just had a weird hiccup in mine, and I haven't even installed the update. I don't know if it was even
Well, there
Cinema
was
4D related, but
there's the whole, there was okay, so at the same time that they did that update, they also did the Redshift 3.0 something with the
oh yes,
built-in
noises.
Where is that?
The nodes.
So here's the thing, like, and they should have specified this, that it's not the new version of Redshift. It's like the beta of 3.0. The beta of 3, it's weird because like right now you've got two different versions. You've got the 2.6 whatever version,
right,
that's the main one that's going out, that's pretty stable. And then you've got this experimental beta 3.0 something, and the 3.0 one is where all the nodes were, with the C4D noises. So it's
right,
using the new node system, and it's using the C4D noises. I've heard good things, but like, if it's just kind of it was kind of weird. Like I never even, I was going to download it, but I was like, this is confusing, because actually I went on to try and download it, and it kept giving me an error. It was like I felt like they kind of counted their chickens before they were hatched a little bit on that one.
Well, I'm thinking
it's a
because of
catch-22.
Octanes, it's trying to make sure that they're
yeah, because
catching up.
Octane launched their
Yeah.
2020 with C4D noises,
Yeah.
and I think they actually just released the C4D version the other day. It's still a,
Hey man,
whatchamacallit.
competition is good.
It
Yeah,
is very
keeps
much.
people going. What were you gonna say, Chris?
Did y'all see?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say it's a catch-22 because Redshift, I think is better. Well, we all know that you have access to experimental builds when you're dealing with Octane, and they specifically say test build, experimental build, stable release, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't really usually see that from Redshift, I don't think so. I don't think people are used to it. I did see a lot of people complaining like, wow, they released some, half-ass version, it doesn't work really well or whatever. But at the same time, everyone's been complaining to Maxot about
Right.
opening up a roadmap, giving people better communication, offering them more input, and that's kind of a little bit of the growing pains of that, probably.
Yeah, and they're going through this transition right now to the subscription and all of these new things. There's a lot of change going on.
Yeah, for sure.
And Liam in the chat, he's saying he would bet on 3 coming out of beta within tomorrow or the next week, because we got that Mac Pro coming out. You're going to want to, and I'm sure Octane's going to do the same thing. It's going to be, they're going to both have their stuff ready to go at launch. I mean, I would think. But
did y'all see the cryptic message tweet by Dave McGavran on December 5th?
The UV.
It says, "You with a capital U have with a capital V been heard."
If that's I hope that's referring to better UV tools or UV tools.
I can only assume. I
don't think that I can comment on that. International NDAs are expensive.
Yeah.
There's it's almost a running gag because people have been saying it so much. They know. Of course they know.
Right.
Of course they know. It's just, it takes time to do stuff like that. But there was, I had a weird thing, and I don't know, are they logging people out when they do these new updates? Did you get logged out at all? Because I didn't do the new update.
I think I did.
But like that day, I still haven't done the update because I was in the middle of a project, and then Octane crashed weirdly all of a sudden. It was like not a regular, it was this really odd crash. And then I opened Cinema 4D back up and it was acting funny, and then it asked me to like log into Cinema 4D again. Do they kind of do like a blanket reset of everybody's credentials when they do updates? Or was that just a fluke on my side?
I think I had to relog in.
Yeah,
I
did the update at home last Wednesday, and I think I had to relog in upon restart.
It kind of makes sense because, when you do subscriptions, you're trying to keep just those people. I mean, just like if you try and sign into Disney Plus in too many locations, it will start logging out your other ones. It seems to be doing that with a lot of different services for me. If I logged in like on like 3 different TVs and a phone, and then all of a sudden, like, the one I've logged into the least is logged out. I don't know.
Weird. I haven't had that
It could
happen.
just
I have
be
to
a
log in
coincidence.
every time, every
Why?
single time. Well, because I work from 5 different computers, so
Oh,
yeah, unless you like, I'm not always the best at quitting free license,
Right.
before I leave home.
Right, yeah.
But it is, I do like how it works, because when you work from multiple PCs, whether it be like your desktop, and then you go to the coffee shop, work from your laptop, it's really simple to just go into that tab and say release license.
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Does
One thing I
now
wish
does
that-
it shut down the one that's open like Adobe does?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm not
Adobe,
really
when
sure
you
about
release
that.
the license, like as soon as you go like back to that computer, it immediately shuts down that program that you were using.
Octane used to have a similar bug to where if I was rendering something at a client's office and I would come home and I would release the license on the web and then
Mhm.
start rendering here, it wouldn't stop the render there if it was
Mm.
already
Mm.
mid
That's
cycle.
convenient.
But sorry, Oto, I wasn't purposefully, taking advantage of the system. Notice it. They've since fixed it, I believe, but
Yeah.
I don't know if Cinema does that or not.
Eric, what were you saying? You wish they had what now?
Oh, well, when you're talking about the signing in and signing out, this is more of when it gets to like upgrades and more version iterations. But if there would be an auto import of your preferences, like your global prefs or shortcuttables or something like that. The way that Adobe has implemented with their CC, how you can migrate your settings and preferences.
Hmm.
I've got several plugins that I like to use, and I've got a list about a mile long of shortcuts that I've derived over the years.
Sure.
And I mean, I know it's just a matter of copy paste, but not having to do that would be awesome.
Right.
It is like a very long transition for me to get into the new version of the program. Every time it's like,
Yeah.
these plugins aren't ready, so I'm just kind of the new version of Cinema 4D is always me playing around with new stuff, when I can, or doing a daily on it. And then all of a sudden, okay, Octane's good, so I'm going to do this Octane thing. And then it's like, okay, I've been on it long enough. I need to get X Particles ported over here. Okay, got that. Now it's like, okay, now the big one, which is Forester, because that's always the biggest pain to have to resend in your,
Because it takes 3 weeks to respond to you to get the actual license.
And so it's this long transition over to it, But I think I'm just about in it now.
The X Particles thing is a bit of a challenge too, because we've got supposedly we have like 80 render nodes on a local render farm that we have on site. But then we have symlinks going to our NOS where we have all of our plugins. But as soon as we switch over to a new version, not all the animators switch at the same time. And so then, it's like, okay, which version of X Particles do we keep on the render farm? So we kind of keep until the bulk of everybody switches, and then we move it over. But
it might be a little more seamless now. I mean, the way that you update like Adobe products now, it kind of moves your plugins over for the most part, things like that.
It doesn't move any
Seems
of
like
my plugins over.
It doesn't?
I have to go in and actually like physically copy and paste all my plugins
weird.
back in. Yeah,
For the
2020
plugins
is
that
crap, by the way.
For the plugins that have actual installers, I don't think those move over. But like if it's just a straight up plugin that you have in your plugins folder, that seems to move decently. But like any Red Giant stuff or anything that has an installer needs to be reinstalled, which is
I saw Red Giant with subscription now too.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're also running a special. I just got this
50%
email.
off tomorrow.
50% off tomorrow
Oh,
on the
okay.
10th.
What?
And then 50% off a Red Giant Complete and 30% off of everything else.
I'm
So
100%.
you can
off
order
Red
your new
Giant.
Mac Pro.
Yeah.
Give yourself 50% off of Red Giant Complete.
There you go.
Oh, buy your 6-year-old hardware on a Mac Pro for. Oh, sorry, never mind. Different topic.
Kent says the new Macs are available to order tomorrow, but who knows when they will ship. That point might be when Mac support would be available, like when they're actually shipping. Patrick Goski says it locks the license and tells you need to reactivate it. They've locked that stuff down hard. Also, there was a comment. What comment? Oh, Tokyo Megaplex said we need to get Jeremy Cox on the show. Totally. Because
I agree.
we saw him in New York. couple other places, and we only get, it seems like every time we see him, we only get like 5 minutes to talk. And I would love to dig into like that indigo render camera stuff that he's been doing. It's super cool.
That's insane.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I had for the week, it was just an interesting comparison, is I kind of feel like I understand where some newbies are coming from in Mograph with this question now that I've been doing some audio stuff. The question that always comes up about, oh, well, I'm buying models and I feel like I'm cheating by buying models to do this. Or if I'm buying this plugin and I feel like I'm cheating to do this, right? Or I'm buying a texture pack and I feel like don't you have to make your textures from scratch? And everybody who's been in it long enough is like, no, like you're gonna buy a texture pack because you need to get moving with the things that you need to do. You're gonna buy, you know, those awesome Grayscale Gorilla material collections that, man, I use all the time. You know, this is like the first thing that I grab, and I'm not going to feel like I'm cheating. You know, I don't need to build a wood texture every time I need a wood texture. I'm going to go for one of these things. So now that I've been doing...
And what happens, like, is it cheating if you build a wood texture once and then you just reuse the same texture over and over again? You know?
No, I've been doing a lot of audio stuff, and so I'm really getting into it. I've really been messing around, really kind of trying to get my workflow in the way that I do audio stuff. You know, how do you... It's really hard to get to the point where, like, we sit down and we do dailies in Cinema 4D, right? And we just sit down and we just start doing it. And we kind of already have a workflow because we've been doing it for so long. And now that I'm doing it in audio, it's like I don't have my workflow down yet, right? And so now that I'm starting to learn, okay, here's how I approach doing a new project and doing these different things. There are these audio packs that you can buy with these different presets and these different sounds and these different things. I'm like, I feel like I'm cheating because I'm not building and crafting this synthesizer noise from scratch from a blank audio. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's how people who are starting in 3D right now feel when they ask that question. So it's just been a really interesting thing because I need to stop myself and say, you know what, I'm not cheating. I'm just buying a guitar sound because I don't want to take a guitar and do it myself, especially since I can't play guitar.
You would never get anything done if you had to create it from scratch. I'll often see sometimes, like on the Octane forums and stuff, sometimes someone will post something up that has good composition, good lighting. Maybe they purchased the models, you know, and someone will comment and say, oh, it looks like you bought some models, set some Octane settings and hit render. Congratulations. And like, you know, not everybody's a modeler, and you can't be good at everything. And I was just commenting today on something. They were asking, like, is it possible to learn all of Cinema 4D?
I saw that.
You could learn it, but you'll never master any of it. You'll never be great at any of it. It's important to understand how it all works and how the pipeline works and what the people behind you and in front of you need from you. Or
don't tell Noseman that.
Well, I mean, I've been using Photoshop since 1994, and I still don't know everything about Photoshop. You know, you develop your niche and use it for the things that are your niche, which is a great segue into what our show is actually about today.
Yeah, totally.
Which is
well done.
Niche markets. Dave. Yes. You two are in niche or niche? Is it niche? Niche. Or just depending, you say niche, I say
motto.
Yeah.
Depends how pretentious you want to be.
Right. So you're both in, Chris, you what would you say mainly your market is? Is it technical? Because you do a lot of like electronics designs and stuff like that. What do you do mainly?
Usually technical or industrial.
Okay.
Yeah. It could be anything from AR and VR, the inside of a warehouse, and some company wants to show how their automated system works, or it could be, you know, circuit boards for Samtech, or once in a while I get the fun creative project, you know, that's fully created from scratch.
And Eric, you do medical. Lots of medical.
Lots of medical. We do a molecular mechanism of action. So, you know, down at the molecular level, how are the the different parts of a cell working to do, to produce something or prevent something. But we also do medical device, and what you were actually just talking about with pre-built stuff. We get CAD files a lot, but that's because the client is very particular, like, no, our product needs to be represented exactly as so. But so, yeah, we do medical device animations, either for like trade shows or educating the general public, or sometimes even training physicians how to use them.
And Chris, you actually will get some of those too, and you'll even get the CAD, but it's still a chore when you get a CAD file from somebody and you gotta chop it up.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I've become very familiar with using, optimize, because I work with stuff on a really small scale when I'm dealing with circuit boards, because I want it to scale, and it is CAD models, so they're like, tiny. So I've gotten real familiar with the workflow of using the optimized points at a low setting, and then after that I use the untriangulate command at like 1 degree with create n-gons, and that'll usually give me best case scenario, so I can use rounded edge shaders and stuff like that, because trying to slap bevels on that is just but there is actually a tool for that now, the remesher. Someone who posted. Yeah, actually works really good. We actually tested it the other day, me and Sebastian Florent, and not perfect for CAD models, but if you're using volume modeling or sculpting or sometimes CAD models, it works pretty good.
But the thing about being in in these markets is it is so sorry, Matt, hold on.
It's all right. I'm just like, go ahead.
The only point I was going to make is a lot of people are like, oh, I want to get in 3D and do like these Instagram-y things and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. The whole glamorous Mograph lifestyle.
Yeah, I want to do characters. I want to do, a short film and stuff like that. And what they don't realize is that, a lot of this work still needs to be done for some of these other niche markets.
And there's money to be made in these markets too. Lots of money to be made.
It's definitely one of the highest paid, highest amounts of work markets out there. I mean, people want to get into the entertainment. Oh, I want to do a music. There's actually, I mean, other than like David, there's not a lot of money in music videos. I was listening to the podcast from School of Motion from one of the guys that does like Kill Switch Engage music videos. I can't remember the guy's name for the life of me. But he's like, budgets on music videos are absolute crap.
Yeah.
And not only that, like say, I think I was talking to one of the other guys, Mitch Myers, and he's like, it's awesome to work on that stuff, but the work sometimes is few and far between. So you might get a big paycheck, but you have to be so diligent and responsible with that money for months, and then it might take you months to work on the next project, and they may have a net 30, net 60, net 90 pay chunk at the end. It's with at least with my market, and I would assume like medical animation, there's just so much need out there. It's such an untapped market, and you still get to be creative.
For us, the benefit that we have with the medical market is that there are animators out there that can just general animators, but I went to med school. I have my master's degree in biomedical
that was the question I was trying to get to. is because like you have this huge background, like and you were studying right alongside with all the same people who were going to med school to actually do surgery, gross with their hands up inside people's bodies and stuff.
I like to joke that I cut apart a human body to get where I am today, which is gross anatomy.
Those cadavers.
Yep, cadaver anatomy. But so where I was going with that though is that a lot of times like a device company will come to us for the second project because they worked with an animator who didn't have the medical background for the first project. There's so much back and forth or anatomical inaccuracies that needed to be fixed, and then they're like, okay, we'll go to you because you know this medical side of it. You can talk with our SME, subject matter experts, and have an informed discussion about what's going on. and it's going to save us time and ultimately save us money, even though it's more expensive up front.
And when somebody does something like a music video, it's not it's an afterthought. Like if somebody wants effects done, the budget for that effect in that one shot of that thing for this music video for this artist who is on this label, that is so many tiers down, like so many, like there's no, the budget isn't going to be there for that. There's going to be some budget, but when you're doing something like we have a lot of architectural clients, you know, or we have a client that does inventions, right? And so they want to show these things within a workspace and how it's used, and that is the centerpiece of how it's used. And for them to set that up in real life and do every version of it in real life and every color of it in real life and photograph it, they're not going to do that. So they're going to put a lot of money behind simulating what that looks like and having it set up in a way where they can show it off on their website, you know, all of that. And there's a lot more money behind it.
Yeah. And plus Eric, in your case, I mean, you specifically went to school for, what is it, medical illustration? What was the...
So my degree was in biomedical visualization.
There you go.
Yeah, so visualizing. I knew that I wanted to get into animation right when I got to grad school. So, and my undergrad had set me up perfectly for it. So I had several electives that I could take, and I, you know, narrowed or targeted myself towards animation, getting more experience.
And what was it about specifically? Because, well, two things. One, I think you are a very niche case in the fact that you went to school specifically for this type of animation. Mm-hmm. And so you're able to charge a premium, because if someone was to go to me and say, I want this medical animation, and that's why you were talking about you get all these inaccuracies with size and stuff, versus someone going to you, they may go through more rounds with me than they will with you because you've got this background in it, you know?
Yeah. We, in my industry, we have an association, the Association of Medical Illustrators, and we have a forum that we keep anatomical inaccuracies caught in the wild going. And the best ones are always the brains that are put in the head backwards, you know? So it's like, you know, the cerebellum is in the front in these images. And so, I mean, a lot of people would have zero clue, but we always get a good kick out of that. So.
That's funny. Those are the abnormal brains.
It is definitely two markets where, like, I'm not an engineer, but I work with a lot of engineering things, robots, circuit boards, stuff like that. But you learn so much, and I can see how insanely helpful it would be, like in Eric, your market, especially because. For instance, when I have to like cut away pump, show fluid flow, stuff like that, I have to talk to an SME and understand why it's doing this, how it needs to be animated, and essentially how it works. I mean, I'm practically a half-ass engineer without the degree now. But for you, it's neither one of these two things can happen really in real life. So they have to come to people like us to do this sort of thing. Like aside from putting a camera inside, you can't. We need to give you the HIV virus so we can see how it bonds cells. You know, or me. We need to go to a 0G environment so we can cut this pipe away and show the fluid. You know, there. Like it's just they have no choice but to come to people like us to do these type of things, and that's why you're able to charge a premium, because you can't film it, you can't photograph it, and you learn so much about it. So it's crazy.
Well, you know, I mean, it's like it's the same thing as when you have your vehicle worked on by a mechanic. You know, just because a mechanic can do something in 30 minutes doesn't mean it's going to cost any less. You know, you're also paying for all the knowledge that mechanic has gained over the years. You know, so it's not just the actual product that you're paying for. You're also paying for the knowledge and being able to get it done in a timely fashion with minimal revisions.
Yeah,
totally.
So. Chris, where did you go to school, if you went to school? And because a lot of people
you don't look like you went to school.
Right. You didn't go to school, did you? No, a lot of people don't go to school for this. But did you go to school for this? Did you go to school for something else?
No, actually, I had started at University of Louisville for CIS because I did programming since I was like 16, just out of sheer interest. But then I kind of found like, I'm sitting here making these cool programs and things I want to make, but if I have to dig through somebody else's uncommented code and try and figure out what they were doing and improve it, like I'm gonna hate my life. So I've always been an avid gamer, so the idea was to get into that. But what a lot of
the
people
easy way out and went into 3D. Way to
yeah,
go.
there's just not people have a misconception of what it's like to be an animator in the movie and film industry, or a 3D person in the game industry. One of the guys, Eddie Chu, that I talked to, he worked on like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and I was asking him like, how is it? He's like, well, I pick up and I move every 9 months. And once that film's over, I pick up and I move for another 9 months. And I think he's actually running like a visual effects school now. But and the same thing with game animators. They might work for 2-3 years on a project and get canned. And then have to move or go somewhere else, whatever. So when I went to school, when I switched, this was back in like 2005, 2006, showing my age. ITT was the only thing nearby, and I needed to stay nearby. It was the only thing nearby that had anything close to like a game design program or whatever. It was a crap program. It was really expensive, and I don't think I would have gotten anything out of it if I wasn't passionate about it and take the stuff home and
I think that's the number one thing with college. If you're going to school, you have to have a passion for what you're doing. If you're just going to go to school and just like hope that it's like high school and you can just get a degree, not gonna happen.
It's like with what's that school? Full Sail. It's really funny because there's this half and half mentality. Like there are some people that are like, oh well, he went to Full Sail, so he's got to be good. And then there's a bunch of people that are like, oh man, Full Sail, that's a joke. And it's really, I know people that went to Full Sail. And the ones that are extremely good are because they had their own self-motivation. And they had they got the tools from the college they're going to, but the self-motivation is what makes it.
Yeah, we've hired people out of Full Sail, and they weren't. They just kind of like, I don't know what else I want to do, so this looks fun.
Right.
And they you could see it in their work. I mean, they could do the work. They had software familiarization, but they never put in like the last 10%.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And they didn't have an eye for the detail, or they'd miss attention to details, or they didn't care. They didn't care what the work leaving their hands looked like. And those are like the worst kinds of people to help you on projects or work for your company.
And so, Chris, this is your company, and you work from home. Do you have an office?
Yeah, I work from home and work on site for local clients.
Okay.
So.
And Eric, you are with a company, or is it?
Yeah, I'm technical director and a senior medical animator. We're a team of 6 animators, but we also have that's the animation side of the business. We have a whole other side of the business that is just illustration, and they do like litigation graphics. So big 30 by 40 inch illustrations that are shown in courtrooms during trials and whatnot.
Cool.
So what about the background with the other people that work with you?
That's what I was gonna ask. Yeah.
So all of us have similar degrees. There's I think, was it 4 or 5 accredited universities with the master's programs now. But we all the animators and illustrators have the same graduate degree, depending which one they came from, which university they went to.
So I guess it goes to show that the medical animation stuff is probably the only thing that you need a degree in to do it, right? In our field.
Well, and you gotta be able to have that self-motivation.
But...
I mean, but we just recently hired a new woman. I think she started on October 1st. She's recently out of school, but then the rest of us, I think the most recent hire other than her was like 8 years ago. Wow. So with the longest one being, actually the longest guy there, he started 21 years ago this summer.
Wow.
I guess a good question for both of you then would be, what did you do to start learning about motion graphics and Cinema 4D to become good at it then? Did you do tutorials? What did you do to really perfect your craft? Self-taught mostly then, or?
I'll let you take this one first, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was self-taught. Just kind of like I said, my undergrad program set me up. I'd knocked out a lot of prerequisites for grad school, when I was in undergrad, and then that freed me up to take a few electives in grad school. So then I chose animation courses, which is actually funny. I started in Cinema 4D in undergrad. In grad school, they taught 3ds Max, and then I sought out Maya courses thinking, okay, that's industry standard, so let's go with that. And then I got hired with a studio that is Cinema 4D, so came full circle. But yeah, a lot of tutorials. I would challenge myself, like digging into like CG Society forums or C4D Cafe forums, and looking for the questions that had no responses, like questions that were unanswered, and seeing if I could figure those out. And then also looking at it from, not taking like the daily used tools within the medical animation, which is like Mograph. That's about it. But then like looking at the tools for character animation and thinking, okay, well, hey, what if I use like the joint tools to rig up this molecule? I can make it bend and manipulate it in lots of more interesting ways. So it was just trying to kind of outside the box thinking too. But yeah, lots of tutorials. Andrew Kramer for After Effects, the Gorilla, which is actually awesome. I did the Maxon Roadshow in Atlanta as a panelist and was on the panel with Nick Campbell, and so it was humbling, I guess, being up there next to him, answering questions alongside of him. But I don't know. I think that answers the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, how about you? Uh-oh, we lost your audio all of a sudden.
Where's your audio?
There you are.
There you go.
What about now?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. You're still recording, right?
I think I thought, yeah. I think
Okay.
I muted it to like cough.
Oh, okay.
I started out similar to Eric. I think first opening with Andrew Kramer, actually. Like his stuff. I like his terrible dad jokes, and he was just fun guy to watch, fun guy in person. And then I used 3D Max for 5 years.
Jeez.
Yeah, ironically, the first company that I worked for. Yeah, the first company. right after. Let's see. My first job out of school was with this company. Paid me $12 an hour to animate characters in a pirated copy of 3D Max 2008.
Right.
So I got out of there pretty quick, and then once I moved to a company called Amatrol, they said that they were using Max, and they were like, "Well, we're moving to Cinema 4D." I was like, "Oh." I put like 5 years into Max. Like, I'm not ready to, start over. But the transition was really smooth. And I actually use Roy's tutorials. He works for Maxon, and I was close with the Maxon guys and helping them beta test. So I used his tutorials from Cafe. That's the C4D Cafe. And that kind of got me going. I was really happy with it. But yeah, I mean, a lot of tutorials, a lot of like he said, just kind of challenging yourself and figuring stuff out. If you have, ADD at all, you might be working on something purposefully and then have 10 tangents fly out of your brain. Well, no, wait a minute. That makes me think, like, can I use this tool for this? And then all of a sudden you open a new scene, try something else. But I still have to, bookmark all that stuff because I can't keep it all here, and so I have a bookmark of tutorials, important things that I might need to do fairly regularly, but not regularly enough to retain all the information. So, but I don't like doing tutorials very often because it's you end up jumping around a lot in the program, and you end up missing a lot of back to the basic stuff. Like as if you were doing something that starts from, here's the C4D interface, here's this, here's that, here's this, here's that. You end up missing so much of that stuff when you start trying to do something specific and you don't know enough about the program. So I've done like a lot of back to the basics stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all come from that.
Mhm.
Sorry. No, I was just saying, I think we've all come from that. You know, we were in another program and now we're in Cinema 4D. Like, wow, this is so much easier. You know?
Yeah.
Let me ask y'all a question. How, like, especially Eric with that, you know, very specific field, how do you guys advertise? How do you get your work out there? How do you do this? I mean, because normally with us, it's like you create your reel, you know, you hope for word of mouth and stuff like that. You know, Eric, I'm assuming that people come to you because you're specialized, you know?
I mean, it's not that dissimilar from that. You know, we try to maintain a current demo reel. You know, keep our website as fresh as possible. It's due for a refresh at the moment, but we also have a team of salespeople. What do we have? I think we have three or four salespeople now, and they go to different medical device conventions. Or we also have a library of patient education animations, which we license to pretty much anybody. You know, for whatever reason they need it. A lot of time it's you know, it's hospitals showing, you know, how to take care of an incision after a surgery. You know, it's an animation just shows that. Or I did an 11-minute animation once about how to use crutches. You want to talk about boring, but this is how you go downstairs with a handrail. This is how you go downstairs without a handrail. This is how you go upstairs with, you know, it's just like, that one was a bit winded, but you know, most of them we try to keep to a couple of minutes, and then, you know, we license those, and you know, and so on. So yeah, sales, but we have a YouTube page, which I think we have a couple million subscribers, and we try to Nucleus Medical Media. If you search for it on YouTube, you'll find them there. You know, we try to put new content up fairly regularly, so that drives a lot of clientele as well. So, and I've personally been posting a lot of my stuff lately, just on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Just you know, but cool stuff that maybe didn't make it into a final animation, or maybe some cool looks development that the company doesn't necessarily want to put out, but like, well, hey, it's free advertising. Why not?
Do you work on anything outside of the medical field for fun? Do you do any passion projects or anything?
Yeah, I do. I've actually been working with a doctor over in Germany. He does a lot of periodical covers. And so I've been actually doing several periodical covers with him, collaborating with him over the last year and a half.
That's cool.
You know, a few passion projects here and there. My wife is she always hates when I water down what she does, but she's basically in charge of training for this medical regulation database aggregation company. And she did a whole bunch of tutorials a while back, and then I edited those and you know, just made them into actual tutorials.
Right.
So
she's gonna come home and call you a graphic designer for messing up.
Yeah.
Right. Not exactly a passion project, but definitely something outside of the medical world.
Yeah.
And Chris,
that's cool.
Is it word of mouth for you mostly, or are you out there hustling, or what do you do?
Yeah, I haven't had to hustle in a while. But yeah, in the beginning, I was working, you know, like full time, 40 hours for an engineering firm. And then I had this friend of mine in an MBA approach me. It's like, hey, can you animate this part that we're trying to sell to the granite countertop industry company down in Nashville? I was like, yeah, sure. And I did it pro bono, kind of like just, you know, because he's a friend. And they loved it so much, they had me do like tons of installation instructions and distributor like videos and stuff for their site. And then that got passed over to, you know, someone in Chicago, like, hey, who did these things for you? And then they gave me work. And so for a long time, it was word of mouth. And then when I built up enough clientele and actually decided, okay, my work-life balance is off, it's time to pick one. So I left the company and started my own. And then it was a little bit of going to, I get random messages on LinkedIn. I would get messages from my website. Getting the website up was obviously the most important, but I didn't leave the job till I had those things in place. Like at least enough client backing to pay my mortgage. And there was a little bit of a dry spot, I think, when we first started the company, where I was going to Upwork and stuff, and like trying to search through the diamonds and the rough, because Upwork is just, can be a terrible place. People want Frozen 2 for a budget of $500.
Right.
They want
you know what you got to do with that?
Yeah.
You know what you got to do with that?
What do you got to do with that?
Let it go.
Yeah.
There you go.
But a lot of it was word of mouth. And then when you come across, say, my favorite is when we get ad agencies, because ad agencies will approach us and they'll say, we have this one client project we need done. Can you do it? You do that one for them and you do it well. They have like an influx of other clients. And the best thing is you don't have to deal directly with the client.
Yeah.
You have this, it hinders pay time a little bit. It turns from a net 30 situation to more like a net 60 sometimes, because they're waiting on pay too. But it's just, then you have a constant influx of different work, and it's challenging. You have to learn stuff, and you get to grow as an artist, and at the same time make money. So for now it's just been, we get those ad agencies, and they have just a constant flow of other companies hitting them up. So
you get ad agencies. You get we have like I mentioned earlier, the company that does like material, like textile invention type stuff. Anybody that comes in the door that needs that, they're gonna say, hey, let's call these guys up.
Oh, there's one more like really important thing, and that was for me networking. Networking was absolutely paramount, because so many people think, oh, we're competing for the same work, whatever. No, you collaborate on that work. I can't do everything. I have a friend of mine who does our substance painter work, Sebastian Florent. He's written the help for Maxon's character tools, for a lot of their character tools. So I used to play video games with him, and I'm just like, hey, any character work, I hand it to him. Yeah. So when you don't have to turn down anything. You get these jobs, and say, for instance, medical animation. I might be like, well, you know what, I can handle all these medical devices, get them textured, lit, blah blah blah, but they need this other piece of the project done that I'm just not good with. And I might be like, hey, Eric, you have any availability? Tell me your rate. And then like I pay Eric for the portion that he does. I get paid for everything I do. The client gets what they want. And so like everybody thinks you're competing, but you're not. It's networking has been absolutely huge.
Everybody wins.
Perfect example of that on us is we recently did some HoloLens stuff, but we don't have HoloLens developers in house. So it was an agency that came to us. We did the models and the animation, and then we set everything up, exported it as FBX, handed that over to the developers. Developers then put it into the HoloLens.
Yeah.
And then so it was. Yeah, like you said, we don't know the programming end of it, but we know people that do.
You have that crossover industry too. We're so close to it that you're gonna get clients that are like, oh, I know you did this thing, but could we also do like a live walkthrough where you can use an Xbox controller and all this stuff? And the first person I'm gonna call is Brandon Clements. And be like, hey, dude, you know what I mean? So
it's funny. I'm actually going to work with him tomorrow on a project.
Yeah, because y'all are in the same city, right?
Yeah, we actually worked at the same company before we both went out on our own.
Yeah,
so but we still collaborate on projects.
Are you moving?
Yeah, so our plan is that within the next 2 years to go to Colorado Springs, because we keep taking road trips out that way.
People going to Colorado.
I know. Could join the REFs there and everything. Dang.
You know what? It really pisses the people in Colorado off too.
I know.
It really does.
I used to live in Fort Collins area, so it hits just ballooned up there since I lived there.
Yeah.
Wait, where are you now?
Where are you?
Outside of Atlanta,
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
northwest of Atlanta.
Yeah, that's funny.
Pretty flat.
Dave and I have been joking about buying a house up in
Colorado.
like just a
Company
rental
house.
up in
Yeah.
Colorado. Yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah, VRBO, you'd be able to cash in on that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Better do it now.
And no, it's not flat here. We're right at the base of the Appalachian Mountains. So we
Yeah.
go about an hour and we're in the Appalachians. So
Oh man,
See,
just
I
like
did
that the
military
drive from
service out-
Nashville to Atlanta. Woo, man.
dude, between Nashville and Chattanooga is beautiful.
Yeah. All those crazy like runaway truck ramps and stuff they put in.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Oh, I mean, they're
Nuts.
not as bad. They're not as bad as the ones on I-70 going up into the mountains in
Yeah.
Colorado.
Well, that's true. We've seen those.
Have you guys done like any road tripping out like Southwest, like Arizona, and
Yeah.
where the speed limits are 80 and they have
The best.
brake cooling areas where you can like pull off and cool your brakes off?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. No. That's
Yeah,
funny.
well, I think it's mostly for semis that are constantly on their brakes as they're going
Yeah.
downhill. Yeah, they
I
have a
always like
speed
this. I always like the sign on Pikes Peak if you ever drive it. It says "hot brakes fail." Because
Yes.
people that aren't familiar driving a mountain just riding their brakes all the way down. Next thing you know, got nothing.
Oh man,
Mm.
that's scary. So as far as freelance goes, and maybe not even just freelance, but when it comes to your day to day, how do you deal with number one, like time management, but having time for your hobbies, having time for your kids, things like that?
Well, me personally, after just having a kid, I don't have time for anything.
Yep.
I haven't loaded. I mean, video gaming. I love playing games. I have
Yeah.
not loaded a single video game pretty much since she was born.
Yeah.
But like I also said, we had projects come from that were supposed to be later, and then projects were supposed to start earlier. Everything got pushed to the day she was born, and I had 4 clients asking for stuff and had to bring on help. So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well, here's the nice thing: is eventually you'll have an excuse to play video games because you can play with your kid.
100%.
Yeah, sorry, honey, I can't
can't
fix
wait.
that right now. I gotta go play video games with the kid. You gotta have
I'm gonna
that
have
that quality
I'm gonna
time.
have a little backpack thing and have her face forward and just for sure.
They get old enough, man. Like my daughter was wanting to play Grand Theft Auto yesterday, and I'm just like, you can't, like, because see, the thing is, I it's my fault because I think I talked about this a couple years ago. Is she has seen the G-rated parts of Grand Theft Auto, so now it's a thing where she can play it, but only if the sound isn't on and if I'm there, so that she can drive her car out into the wilderness and like run it into trees and stuff, you know. So
I'm pretty sure even then when you hit stuff there's cussing. I don't remember a rated G
Oh.
part of that.
well, that's
game.
why she can't use the audio. She can't use the sound. So you
yeah,
can't
yeah,
have you
okay.
can't have speakers on. It's got to be muted. It's funny.
Yeah, sure.
But my favorite game is the Uncharted series on the PlayStation, and but yeah, my 6-year-old not. I mean, he watch the puzzle portions of it, but when it's just constant shooting and killing people, otherwise.
My
Not yet.
girlfriend's even played all the Uncharted series. I was pretty impressed with that.
JJ Motion said we do the same thing. We call it the beach game. It's funny.
What game is that?
We're talking about trying to play a G-rated version of GTA with your kid, like with no sound
that's
on,
funny.
and go to the
really funny.
areas that are okay. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
You don't just put your kid in your arms as you're trying to get him to sleep and then just turn on the game and just play?
The little front-facing backpack is the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
rear-facing, actually, if you're playing GTA with the muffs on.
Right. That's funny.
Hopefully they're not noise canceling. Oh, what, you're crying? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's actually like
funny.
the best. It's the best way to be able to have that free time.
Mm-hmm.
Is to have the same interests, do things that with your kids that you have the same interests in. Like if it is playing video games, or like Eric, you and I going with our kid to go mountain biking. You know, because then you get to still at least kind of do that stuff. I can't really go hardcore mountain bike with my 9-year-old, but, you know, we do get to go out into nature and get some fresh air at least.
Cool thing is my wife rides, and so what we'll do is we'll go to the trail system, and, you know, I'll go do a couple trails, she'll ride with our son, and then we'll do the handoff, and then, you know, flip-flop.
That's exactly why we're moving to Colorado, because we both, you know, hike, bike, camp. I like fishing, she doesn't. But we keep taking these 9-day road trips out there and going to all the national parks, and we only get to spend like, you know, a day. We did that trip to Yellowstone. She was 5 months pregnant. She planned the whole entire thing. We did like a few miles of hikes, but you know, being 5 months pregnant, we weren't be able to do everything, so we couldn't get out to the mineral lakes. So we're just like, you know, there's nothing like really east of Colorado. It's just yeah. You look at a map,
Kansas, Nebraska,
all the national parks are west. Well, I mean, no, Vegas is west. Yeah.
No, there's a border wall there, right?
Parts.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Just when were you moving there?
We're looking at within the next. She just started like an engineering rotation. So she's doing like robotics engineering and a bunch of other stuff. So she's got that. The 6-month rotations, 4 of them. So within 2 years, we're going to try to.
Before you do, try to take a vacation in Asheville, North Carolina, because there's some great hiking, biking. It's a real.
Oh yeah.
Or I don't know if you have been there or not, but yeah, Asheville is awesome.
Yeah, it was our other choice. Like if we were like, we want mountains or we want ocean or we want both. Ideally, the best case scenario would be Vancouver because it's got both.
There you go.
It's incredible. It's an incredible city, but the median home price is 1.2 mil. So
yeah.
North San Francisco.
But the nice thing about it all is, you know, doing what you do, you can basically work from anywhere, you know, if you want. And so that's really what's great about this industry. More so, I guess, if you're in freelance. If you're working for a company and you want to do that, some companies are cool with letting you go do that. Some aren't. It just depends. What do you think about as far as business goes, besides like how do you get business? What are some other good business tips, tricks, things like that when you are running your own business or working for a business? As far as your workflow, getting things done, dealing with clients, all of that.
Go ahead.
I think one of the things that I've learned over the years that's helped me a lot is learning how to manage client expectations. You know, and like when you're sending them a storyboard, you know, I do most of my storyboards in 3D actually, but it's, you know, okay, explain it to the client, just, okay, this is not lit, this is not textured, we're just looking at placement here. Or like when we do the animatic and the A1, here's what you're give them a list, like here's what you're supposed to approve. No, it's not final lit, it's not textured, it's not, you know, here's the things that are going to come later, but focus here, you know, manage the expectations, and then also just kind of, you know, figure out how to get it through to the client that, you know, you're paying for a Civic, you're not going to get a Maserati, you know, you've got that. So,
and being able to anticipate what they're going to say, or, you know, you do a low sample render and you say what they would say if you didn't bring it up, which is it's grainy. I get it, you know, or else you're gonna be like it's grainy. Or you send them a Dropbox link and say, make sure you download this because as soon as you click on it, you're going to tell me that it skips or it's ugly, the compression's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually in the opening line. Make sure you download and review this.
You know the trick to that, right? You take the Dropbox link and you change the 0 to a 1. So when they click on it, it will only download.
0 to a 1.
Yep.
It'll immediately download it.
It won't open on Dropbox.
Okay.
That's very handy.
That is handy. Or the people that then like try to stream it on their phone, and that usually and just stream it through a browser.
Yeah. What about you, Chris?
Business tips. I mean, business tips. I'm mostly like Skype you two and ask you.
Well, how do you keep your clients happy? How do you keep your clients coming back and happy? You know?
Man, it's like, I mean, just putting in that extra 10%, like treating everything like it's a portfolio piece. Early on there was a lot of things that kind of didn't cost us money, but it cost us extra pay because, maybe their budget was here, but we didn't want to let anything leave our hands that wasn't like here. So we would eat the cost sometimes early on to make sure that we got the client hooked, and then they kept giving us stuff. We're taking on so many new clients lately. I've had to learn some new tricks. Sometimes it's going to sound wrong, but sometimes you just have to be an asshole.
No, I totally get that.
We had a client, for instance, recently, rip us for being a day late on a milestone, when in fact, it was a ish date, and it was the next morning instead of the night before.
Yeah.
But then they were 30 days late on a net 30 agreement on the first 3 payments, and it was like,
yeah.
It's tough because you have to balance. You have to be stern, because a lot of clients, they will run over you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They'll be like, well, add this, we'll add this. So pretty much just transparency and being very communicative about what it is that they're asking for and what it is that they get. In short, like Eric said, managing client expectations. If they say, well, I decided, I want this red and I want this, that, I want this, that. I'm like, well, you've had 4 iterations of this to tell me that. And it could have to do that. So if you're fine, it's going to cost this much. Another thing that we kind of do, which has been helpful, is we'll upsell the client a lot of times. We're working on, we'll offer them AR PDFs where you can, you have a PDF of your product, you put it on the table, you point your phone at it, it pops the model up on your table. You can move it around. It has reflections, depth of field, animation, in addition to WebViewer 3D and Unity, OpenGL stuff on the web. And then sometimes we'll offer packages. We'll give a rate. Sometimes they have a budget, and it doesn't fit that rate, and say, well, we can do it for that budget, but like he said, you're going to get a Honda. And if you're okay with a Honda, we'll wax the crap out of that thing, as much as we can, but it's still going to be a Honda. And we try to offer flexibility, without compromising, making life harder on ourselves. So that's kind of helped, but it's still a learning experience with every new client, every new job.
Every client will try to pull a new fast one on you.
It's
and
just
I think one way to help also with the scope creep is what we tend to refer to it as, when the client starts asking for more, is just to be explicit in the contract, saying, okay, this is what we're going to do for you, and then finishing each email with a deliverable saying, please note any revisions to previously approved or unmentioned aspects may cause delays and or increased or additional expenses.
And make sure that you are clear that they share what you give to them with the other decision makers in the process to come up with one version of what you need to change. Because nothing's worse than making 20 changes that one person sends you, and then their manager comes back and says, actually, let's do it this way instead. You're like, well, wait a minute. We already started this process.
Yep.
There's one that I've been getting a lot lately, which this comes back to you talking about, Chris, about being stern and being an asshole or whatever you want to call it, which is a lot lately. I feel like I will send something and we will go through revisions, or we'll send stuff and we'll get 0 feedback and no one really has anything to say on the process. And a week will go by and then we kind of just wrap it up and say, okay, well, I guess we're done. And then it's 9:00 p.m. on a Friday, and an email comes in saying, hey, can you change this whole thing? And it's like, what I've been doing is not responding until Monday morning and just saying, okay, well, we'll start working on that this afternoon. You know, because there's a timeline, you have a schedule, you have a calendar. I know that on Mondays, I'm going to be doing this, and that's most of my day, you know? So if somebody sends something to me late on a Friday, it's like, you're not going to even get me to start on that until Monday afternoon or Tuesday, you know? And you have to be fine with being like that, because if not, everybody's going to expect you to work on a Saturday when you're trying to go mountain biking with your kid, you know?
Yep. I call it Steve's Law.
Yeah.
As soon as you're about to leave for vacation, or as soon as the weekend's about to hit, or you're about to go to like NAB or SIGGRAPH, Steve will always call, and he'll need it immediately.
Yeah. Graham in the chat says Ian's brother's cousin from accounts has some amendments, and it's true. They're always like, well, you know, his kid is going to film school, and he thinks that you should do this.
Gary down in the corner. Thanks.
Yeah.
Do you guys get calls from random people in your family or even friends of your family asking for stuff? Like all of a sudden you're a graphic designer or a pro photo retoucher. Yeah.
The biggest
or
is
even
that
an IT guy.
websites. You guys do websites, right? No.
Speaking of, I need to get back to that shirt that my wife told me she needed for her school.
What's that?
Gosh.
She has me design these shirts specifically for her school.
Yeah.
So I forgot. She's like, hey, can you do this for me? I was like, yeah.
That's different though. You're obligated, Matt.
Yeah. The hardest ones. Have y'all done a funeral collage for any family members?
No.
Can't say I've been asked to do that one.
Man, those are the hardest things you'll ever do. Like, it's like, I understand that, you know, this is what we do, and I mean, I wasn't happy to do it, you know, so to say, but when my cousin passed, his wife, my cousin, asked me to do his funeral collage, and so I was like, yes, absolutely, you know, that's totally fine, and I did it, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It was like,
too hard, man.
It took me 3 days. 3 days. So when my grandpa passed away, my mom said, will you do his funeral collage? I said, absolutely not. I said,
it's
no.
too hard, man. You can't edit through tears.
You can't, no. Freaking Ed Sheeran songs, you know, driving me to tears every 10 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Just think of that could be a freelance gig, you know, just outsource that or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not charging my family for it.
All right, I don't know, but that way, you know, you're impartial. You know, you just get the stack of photos. And
it's hard enough to watch a video like that once, you know. Man.
Yeah.
Let's go to some links real quick, because we got a few other segments and like some email stuff to go through here. I think you might be able to help some people here with these emails. Links. Number 1, Polygon has been coming out with some cool tools over the last few years, and they got a new one, which is a procedural wood plugin type deal. It's mainly I think they have it for like 3D Max and Blender or something, but mainly Substance. It's a Substance plugin that you can open, I think, in most of the different free tools. Because doing like wood textures is so difficult, you know. Chad, I think, talked about this in his talk at DFWC4D. It's like, you know, when you do wood textures, you're either close up or you're far away, and it's not too difficult to do like a close up piece of wood, like you're right, you know, on a desk and there's something on a desk. But when you have to do wood on a massive scale, like a room with a floor or something, all of a sudden the patterns in the texture are blatantly obvious. The same with carpet, you know. So they have this really awesome looking wood procedural plugin. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet. I just got the email, But
Yes, they're working on all these procedural ones because they just introduced a procedural brick generator. Of course, that was back in August.
yeah, I think we might have mentioned it. But just want to put that out there. The other thing I wanted to talk about is this small free app. It's called Mr. Viewer, because I've been on the lookout for something that is a great image sequence player. Because, you know, it's all well and good when you're rendering in Cinema 4D and you just hit play and you kind of play back what's in there. But a lot of it is based on RAM. Sometimes Cinema 4D's, you know, it's trying to concentrate on rendering, not necessarily playing back something. So what this does is it lets you bring in these image sequences, but it lets you have some other controls over it, like how many frames per second it's playing back, how much you load into your actual RAM, so you could actually see your whole sequence. Because of course in Cinema 4D, if you have a really long image sequence, it's going to run out of RAM. And this lets you allocate so that you can see the whole sequence. It lets you do a lot of stuff with color space, like tell it the gamma, and I think you can do LUTs and things like that. But it's called Mr. Viewer, and
That's cool.
I think it's really great because sometimes as something's rendering, you kind of just want to check it out, and you don't want to have to open up After Effects.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a huge pain.
Yeah.
Yep. Truck stop bathroom.
Truck stop bathroom. The other thing
Get in and
is,
out as fast as you can.
right? So I came across this little issue in Cinema 4D this week, which was an AEC issue. And I thought that maybe it was because I installed After Effects 2020. I opened it up and I couldn't install the plugin. And I'm like, well, I thought that all those Exchange plugins would have moved over. And so I did update the plugin because it was there, but it wasn't up to date. I updated it. It still wasn't bringing in my AEC file. And I couldn't get my 3D data into what I was doing. And I was like, this is so weird. So I tried to load an old AEC file from an old project, and it loaded into After Effects just fine. And I'm like, okay, and I figured it out what was going on. And it was that Cinema 4D R21 was not exporting the 3D data the way that I wanted it to. So I got into the help section of our Slack channel and hit up Rick, and like he immediately responded and told me how to fix it. And also it happened to be the day that the new update came out, and I guess this was a known problem. And he's like, so it's already fixed. So yeah, very responsive then.
A way around that, talking about plugins, is recently came across, what is it, AE for C4D?
AEC C4D. That's actually the link. It's somebody in this, it wasn't you, I don't think, but somebody in the Slack suggested it right away in there, which was awesome. And
it's seamless. I've been using it now for a couple of months, and
really?
I mean it's great. I don't think I even use it to its full capabilities, but you know, if it's a heavy scene, it'll take a while to export and get everything over there. But you know, easy way around that is just disable, you know, whatever you can, and it's so much more convenient than having to export. So
that's what I do actually. If I have a scene like that, I know it's going to be a heavy export, so I will go in, I'll leave the camera and the nulls and the different pieces with the external compositing tags, and I'll delete everything else, you know, and I'll save it as a separate scene.
This has an overwrite layers thing.
Yeah,
That's
so if you change like your camera movement, it'll just replace the camera.
That's great. That's great, because usually you have to just re-import it every time. And you get all these folders with all this extra stuff in it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then you got to relink any of your expressions.
Yeah. And this article actually was from, gosh, my mind is blank. He was at Maxon and now he's at Pixar. Oliver. He posted a link to this article that Pixar put out about Pixar's USD pipeline. It's very interesting. It's kind of a comprehensive breakdown of their flow and their process and how they do everything. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes. It was really cool. Also, there's another article here about Disney and how they use Unreal to do real-time sets in Mandalorian. Because there's a couple aspects of Mandalorian I never thought about. You know, they're on a green screen set, a lot. And yeah, you've got these different things going on in the background, and a lot of people have been doing that digital set thing where, you pipe in a comp back into the camera guy's monitor, so they're moving around handheld, they can see the shot and how it's framed and all of that. But the thing that you really would have a hard time accounting for is reflections when you're doing something like this, because he's wearing all of his armor, right? And never takes off his hat.
Bright silver and his hat.
His hat. No, like the Rick and Morty episode with the mustache. She takes off his hat and he's got the mustache, and she's like, oh. She's like, what? You didn't think I'd have a mustache? There's a meme where she's taking off the hat, and then it's a clip from Rick and Morty. But when you have all those reflections on the hat, your pretty little hat, it's not something that's done in post, because that's like a crap ton of work to have to do that for the entire series. So they actually have these sets kind of pre-made, and they have LED walls that are displaying what would be on the other side of this environment, so that he's getting those reflections when certain things happen or certain things move by.
Did they just use the LED walls as the post stuff, or are they actually having to go through and have to rotoscope?
No, they're using LED walls on the opposite side to play this stuff back in real time using Unreal Engine, so that it's reflecting all of these pieces of the environment. And so then you don't have to go in and do that in post, which is a great idea. Super great idea.
That's cool.
And let's see what else. There's I got a link here to the Game Awards. They just did came out with this animation online. Actually, I think this was posted through I forget the name of the company, but this is Simon Homedal. Because he does those really cool like Houdini animations and everything, and so he worked on this. He posted. I think it's on the channel for his company, if I'm not mistaken. Which is, what is it? Poly.
I don't remember.
I gotta look it up now.
No, it's not Polygon.
No, maybe I have it completely wrong. I'm just waiting for it to load. And the internet is slow today. What is the deal? Solar flares. Come on, just load this Vimeo page. I got one Vimeo page to load so I can see the name of the dang. For the love of God. All right, well, I'll let that load, and I'll go to the next link, which is, that's it.
Panoply?
Panoply. Right? Panoply.
Panoply?
Yes.
Panoply? Something like that.
There we go. Silverwing for the win. Yeah.
Putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to Beeple's People.
Yay.
Get out your Beeple viewer of choice. This is going to be...
Are you going to talk about his okay.
The one-day sale's over, man. It's already too late. It's already too late.
The Black Friday thing that he did where it was 99% off, that was hilarious. Like, he jacked up the price to like $2,500.
Yeah.
And then discounted it 99% to where it was basically the exact same price as it was.
That's how Black Friday works.
It's so funny. It was so funny. I wonder. I'm curious about his sales that day. Whether he actually made more sales that day.
Well, he also did something yesterday, right? For that print.
Oh yeah, it was the
Yoda,
the baby Yoda eating the Jabba the Hutt.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. The thing, what did he put after it?
He had like this crazy 2-paragraph rant, and he's like, "I'm not holding it for you. I'm not shipping it. Blah blah blah." He's like, "You just get it today, and that's it."
Limited to 50, 1 day only sale. Oh my gosh, you disgusting fuckers. How
oh my god.
Is this mathematically the thing you want most? Ha 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 ha. I don't even know how big. Like an okay size? Ha ha ha. The compare at price is what I'm effing working my ass off to make these prints worth in 10 years. It sounds ridiculous, but you're also buying a completely unlicensed, possibly illegal print depicting a beloved character owned by a giant corporation graphically devouring another one of its characters. So like art stuff, F it. You want to help the smash? You want to help? Then smash that GD buy button. You GD son of a bitch.
Oh my god.
Mike is so random.
That's hilarious.
I like that guy.
Oh, okay. Well, get out your Beeple viewer of choice. We're still a little bit behind on our Beeples. So we're still at Thanksgiving at this point. Take out your Beeple viewer of choice. Go to November 27th, Year of Our Lord 2018. I'm using Twitter. This one is called Retweet If You Would Eat Turkey Hitler to Save America.
Oh my gosh, this one too.
Yeah, this is great. Let's see, the chat's turned off on this one too. I must have adjusted something by accident. There we go. It's Turkey.
His stories.
Turkey Hitler.
If y'all don't follow him on Instagram,
Oh yeah.
like really, there's so much gold there. You really should follow him on Instagram, just because like seeing this, Turkey Hitler thing where he put, "Would you eat Turkey Hitler?" and there was a yes and a no, and it's like, you disgusting people, you wouldn't stop the Turkey Holocaust.
Turkey Holocaust. Yeah. Yeah. And he posts other really funny comments like as he's building stuff. And so you kind of see like the progression of the daily along with the hilarious comments.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is great. This is for Thanksgiving, obviously, and he does these thematic ones every once in a while that I think they're outside the Beepleverse, technically.
I love finding the little hot pockets. Like,
is he still doing that on like all of them?
Easter eggs. Oh yeah. I don't know about all of them, but
Yeah.
I definitely have seen quite a few.
Sometimes the Hot Pockets Easter eggs are only in the Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta look out for those there. But he does do this thematic thing. Like, for example, if you go to November 29th, this one is called Moscow. And that's because he was in Moscow. He usually does these like city themed ones when he's in those cities. I thought this one was actually really cool looking. I liked what he did with the colors and the streaks here. I did send him a message and I told him to say hi to Trump for me because he's in Moscow. Ding. No, he does a really good job with the color in this one, and it. You know what it kind of reminds me of? Some of the way that the geometry is on the bottom, and I mean this is just I don't know how accurate this is as far as the Kremlin itself and some of the areas down here at the bottom. But with the colors and this particular geometry, it kind of reminds me of Small World, the Disney ride. Because if you look at... Yeah, because if you've been watching that documentary...
The flat stuff. And
yeah, but even the geometry, the triangles and the arches with the colors... If you watch that documentary, they talk a lot about how they did the color... how they did the art and what some people brought to the table at Disney when it comes to art and when it comes to some of the more modern looks, that quote unquote modern looks at the time that they were developing, like in the 60s, and then like Cinderella, there were some very interesting modern looking pieces of art created for that. And it was the same person who was behind that stuff that was kind of behind this, or not this, but behind Small World, which is why this reminds me of that. And there's also something about those colored streaks in the background that is very familiar, but I can't quite place what that is.
Mary Blair is who you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. Her style is amazing. So good.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to find this on his Instagram and get caught up.
See, I feel like there's stuff missing, and I think I swear like some of the stuff on Instagram gets taken down because Instagram seems to be a lot more weird about the nipples and things. Yeah,
it's not there that I can tell, but there's a lot of stuff to sift through. So
yeah.
See, I don't quite understand some of these social media platforms what constitutes like something that is not allowed or not. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't quite get that.
I feel like if that was they were that offended by that, is some of the stuff on people's Instagram that is there. would
Yeah.
be long gone before a nipple.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. And then this last one, this is November 30th. It's called CG Event.
Uh-huh.
And I'm trying to decipher what that means. You know, because he said, I think this is probably when he was still in Moscow. Maybe,
So
possibly.
he was on his way.
Or
Yeah,
on his way
he
to
did
Moscow,
The
or-
very next. No, he was. I'm assuming he was there because December 1st he did a live. Oh, CG event. Yeah, I guess that was the name of the thing.
Well, CG, yeah.
Okay. Because the next day he did one live. He did a whole bunch of Buzz Lightyears attacking a mushroom.
But what's the purpose of the pepper?
I don't know. Things are spicy.
I'm spicy. Now, I don't know. Why is there a pepper in there though? Like I could see if you went to like a country that had a lot of peppers,
Yeah.
but I don't think Moscow and think red pepper.
I don't
I
know.
mean, when people sits down and he says just sit down every day and something will come out, it doesn't
Right.
necessarily mean it has to make sense.
That's true.
True.
We all know that.
Point.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't know. It's funny because it kind of reminds me of the poster art that I
Oh.
did for the event. The pepper's the branding of the event. Okay.
It's their logo. Okay.
It reminds me of the one I did.
Thank you, Max on 4D or Cinema 4D.
Oh yeah,
by
it's
Max
funny.
on.
It reminds me of the poster for the Colorado meetup though, because it's a big jar with something in it, and it's a CG event, and you got the workers at the bottom. You know.
Right.
All right, so that's it for People's People, and we want to do a segment with both of you. This is why I wanted to make sure we had time for this. We want to do a segment called
plenty of time.
Mograph Recommends. Now, we also have 2 emails I wanted to get to as well. So let's start with Mograph Recommends, and we're going to try and go through. We won't spend too long on this. We want to try and get through this pretty quick because we have a couple more things to do. So we'll quickly go through and get some of like your favorites and preferences on these things. And I'm going to start. The way we'll do it is we'll ask you one, Chris, and then Eric, you give your answer to the same thing rather than us going through the whole list separate.
Sure.
So we're going to start with favorite movie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was supposed to be ready to answer this. I would have to say, if I went by how many times I've actually watched something, it would have to be the first Matrix.
Okay. Cool.
Just because of the inventive concept and yeah.
All right.
You know, I remember the first time seeing Super Troopers and seeing that movie as many times as I did in college. You know, that just I don't know that and then but favorite animated movie for me is Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
Old,
that's
you know,
still
old school Pixar.
Yeah, totally.
You know, Monsters University was the first movie where they actually used GI.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh wait, we had to do an animated film, and was
No.
definitely How to Train Your
Oh
Dragon.
No.
Just throwing that out there because that is one that I love to watch, and you know I always try to get my son to watch it with me when he's wanting to watch a movie. I'm like, hey, look, Monsters Inc.
How to Train Your Dragon, 100%.
Really?
Mm.
Oh yeah. Oh definitely.
I don't think I've ever seen that one. I've seen the second one.
What? No, the symbolism and the writing in it was so good.
Number one.
Hiccup's voice annoyed me at first, but it grows on you after a while.
Yeah.
They do make a good joke about that in the third one, referring to it as a honking goose sound.
Oh yeah.
All right.
All right.
I guess I don't get it.
Music. Let's go on to music then.
So for me, music, I'm kind of a metalhead, so I listen to like All the Remains, Killswitch Engage, I See Stars, and then my girlfriend, she's Russian, so she listens to a lot of electronic music. So I listen to a lot of electronic music as well. I usually don't have control over my radio when she's in the car.
Yep.
I'm a bit all over the map. I like a lot of hard stuff, but you know, old school rap, you know, hardcore, Funeral for a Friend is a band from Wales that broke up just a few years ago, but I recently discovered that they had put out a live album just before they called it quits, and so I've been listening to that a lot lately. So all over the map.
Okay, now how about TV show? And keep in mind, these don't have to be like the favorite all time. It could be something just like that you're enjoying recently, you know.
All time, probably MacGyver from my childhood. Most recently, I hate to be cliche about it, but I'd have to say Game of Thrones. But I'm super looking forward to The Witcher. They said they said the fight scenes in Witcher make Game of Thrones look like two drunks fighting outside a bar. So
that can be
really,
it's high
really
expectations
looking
though.
forward to that between The Witcher and The Boys. Yeah.
If we want to go old school TV shows, I remember watching MASH. You really want to go old school.
That song means that it's time to go to bed, remember?
Yes, it does.
Yes. Nick at night.
It means that I Love Lucy's over. Either that or if you hear a Perry Mason theme song, it means that I Love Lucy's over, it's time to go to bed.
We all had very similar childhoods.
Right.
But yeah, like Stranger Things, we watch a lot of documentaries in the house. Netflix, the Broken one, just watched the one about recycling last night, which was very eye-opening. I've known a lot about it, but that goes into a lot more detail and just how broken the recycling system is.
You know what? What do you think about that whole series on CRISPR? That's probably right up your alley, right?
It's on my to-watch list. Have not gotten too much into it, but that you mentioned that, I did one of the first animations about CRISPR back in 2016.
Oh, nice.
I know that it was one of the first because I had no clue what CRISPR was, and come to find out, we were working with some of the forefront researchers that really discovered CRISPR and the Cas9 molecule. And I didn't even realize, who we were working with. Looking back on it now, it's pretty cool. But
so it's
basic. Less informed. What is that?
Oh,
you don't know what CRISPR is?
No.
CRISPR is like the gene slicing and editing.
It's a new cereal by Kellogg's.
Yeah.
But it's a way to
special CRISPR.
Yeah.
Doesn't get soggy in milk.
Yeah.
It's CRISPR berries.
Gene editing.
Yeah.
We did a second animation on it for Nature, which is more comprehensive. That is, you Google CRISPR, CRISPR, not ER. Just Google that. Watch the one on Nature, done by Nature periodical. A little self-promotion there, but.
But it's basically, is it a bacteria that they discovered or something that they're able to use to? It's a molecule.
Yeah, it's inside the cells. It's not its own cell itself.
But
it'll pair with a guide RNA, which then looks for specific sequences along a DNA strand, and then they can kind of program it, so to speak, to either cut that strand of DNA. They can splice in a new section of DNA. They can remove just a section of the DNA and then put it all back together. And the hope is that this is on the positive side.
Can they add additional stuff? Like,
well, yes, that's what they said. But
because, they've said the whole aging process or whatever, you start to grow older as the ends of your DNA, the telomeres, start to get shorter and shorter. I wonder if they could add more at the end, you
need to watch that documentary because you got to see what they did with these rats. They had 2 rats and one of them got really old, or they both got really old. This was the thing. It's not like they changed the DNA and one of them stayed young and one of them got old. They actually both got old, and then they spliced the DNA of the old one and it like got young again or something. It looks like complete science fiction.
I think there would be a terrible idea to extend human beings' life.
Well, and it's a big ethical debate right now.
Right.
And,
Maybe
you know,
yours.
it's
We'll live forever.
the prospects of it being able to, you know, work against cancer or different genetic diseases is fantastic. But there's the ethical debate about, you know, are you just going to use this to program, you know, your baby's hair color, eye color, you know, physical fitness ability, you know, it's so like that's the ethical side of it right now.
And the hard
But
part,
there's it's so unknown too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? You as a parent, I can, and I'm sure all of y'all can attest to this. You could change your child however you want. It does not mean they are going to succeed.
Well,
everybody wins. What are you talking about?
And like Noseman says here, that he's like Monsanto announced, you know, licensing agreement to use CRISPR, but that's part of the whole debate, is that it is something where it can be very dangerous, because you could mess up an entire ecosystem by changing something, but at the same time you don't want it to be controlled. You want this to be kind of more of an open source thing, so that people like Monsanto don't control it. So it's a very interesting documentary.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway.
Did y'all see the trailer for the new Ghostbusters movie?
I saw the ad for it. I didn't actually get to watch the trailer.
Yeah.
Saw the ad for it.
Looks like Stranger Things with Ghostbusters.
Hey, all right.
Keeps that nostalgic feel.
It's got the kid from, you know, Stranger Things.
Really? Which one?
All those kids are going to be typecast.
Yeah, I know. Well, considering he was in Stranger Things, he was in It, and now he's in Ghostbusters. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
So.
It's going to be like the Doogie Howser.
So, do y'all listen to podcasts?
Just Mograph.
Oh yeah.
You're fired.
Yeah, I catch you guys. I listen to School of Motion sometime. I'm kind of like just jumping on the podcast train.
Yeah, same.
It's so hard for me to split my focus if I'm trying to take knowledge from a podcast while applying other knowledge to the screen. And
I got to be music. I can't really listen to other people's dialogue, and you know, it breaks the concentration.
Yeah.
So then what about plugins? Do you have like a go-to plugin, like the plugin, besides your render engine?
Go to my plugins folder. The X particles I definitely use quite a bit, but one I just picked up on Black Friday, which I was late to the game on this, Forester.
Mm-hmm.
And
have you gotten your license for it yet?
You know what? I bought it on Black Friday. I sent the email over that night, pretty late that night. I was like, I'm not going to get this back until Monday or later. And I got it back Saturday morning.
That's not bad.
There you go.
That's good.
All right.
Weekend. Yeah. But no, Forster's like, it's really just so cool. And I didn't even have any work projects.
What is it?
Just making
trees, plants,
and
trees, plants,
stuff like that.
But it's very modular, so you can parametric even, like you're building the tree as you go, so you have like this long list of daunting parameters to do your tree, and then you can set it up to where the have a hurricane force winds like bending the branches and stuff, and you can watch it happen in your viewport. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
How does it work in 21? Because it used to be you had to have like the serial and then then the MAC address and stuff like that.
So there was a specific, I don't remember what it was now, but there was a specific thing on the site that told you if you're using R21, do this. But I haven't tried to use it on another computer yet, like logging into my license with another computer. But I think it's tied to the license, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Eric, what about your plugins?
Yeah, I got a feeling you got some good ones. Because I've installed a few weird ones on the computer for you.
Yeah.
Stuff we've probably never heard of.
Well, so like a lot of my plugins with when R20 came out, my plugins list got shortened dramatically. One really old one that I loved was the solo button. Not Nitro Man's and not the built-in solo. This one was slightly different, but I can't even find where to download it anymore. It's that old. And so
I like the
definitely
new
not
solo
being...
buttons in 21.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, one plugin that's phenomenal is EPMV, which it's a molecular viewer. So you can go to places like the protein data bank, and if you're curious, like what does an antibody look like, or what does a ribosome look like at the molecular level, they
I
have the
had wondered
information.
those things.
I'm sure hasn't
Doesn't
everybody?
everybody? Yeah.
You know. So, but the source
Chlorophyll.
resource
More like borophyll.
more like chlorophyll. But with all those resources have that information. Plugins like EPMV will take that information and bring it into Cinema 4D, and then you can see it
Oh, that's
visually
rad.
either as
That's cool.
A ribbon model, spherical, just like your ball and stick model, like you'd have in
Wait, so
chemistry
you're
class.
telling me you don't go through and model all these?
Oh, that's cheating.
You're not. Yeah, it's
But
cheating.
But what's really cool is you can also bring in just a point cloud, and then you can dump all those nulls into a volume builder and a volume mesher, and then you've got the power of volumes to do all your molecular modeling right there within
cool.
Cinema.
My daughter is really excited because we found a plugin. Well, and because she plays Roblox, and if you don't know what Roblox is, you'll and you have kids, you'll probably find out eventually. But you can make your own games and stuff. She's really excited though because we figured out that there is an OBJ importer in there, so you can not only make your own games, but now like we could probably build something together, and she could bring it into her own game. So that's a good plugin if your kids are into that,
Most of my plugins though are still in After Effects, and the one over there I can't live without is Frisch Left, or as I like to call it, Fish.
What do you call
What
it?
do you call it?
Fish lips.
Fish lips. Yeah. Yeah, for the longest time I didn't know how to pronounce it.
I'm just guessing at Frisch Left, but
First left.
Frisch Left.
That's what we...
just mumble it.
Worcestershire.
Yeah.
W sauce.
Yeah.
All right, now you're both wearing some pretty interesting looking headphones. What do you have there?
Mine I actually just bought. They're Cohen's Cohen E7 Pros. They were reasonably priced and had really good reviews. So the noise canceling actually works really well. Also, I've never had such good active noise canceling. I can't even hear myself talk if I turn it on. So
It's weird.
That's
Can't
not
hear the
what
baby
I want
cry,
to
right?
happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been a huge fan of the Audio Technica, the ATH M50s. They're relatively inexpensive, but they provide a really good acoustical stage. They're a reference monitor. I have the Boom audio system equalizer installed on all of my computers so that I can adjust based on what I'm listening to. I had the wired version for years, and then they fell apart. I picked up a pair of the V Motos. I have really big ears that stick out, so I have to have like really big ear cups so I went then I found these were refurb, the ATH M50s, but the Bluetooth version, and aside from the latency in them, I really like it.
What's the name of the software that you have installed for the acoustics?
Boom audio.
Boom audio. Okay.
Is that a Mac thing?
It was Mac only, but they came out with a PC version of it within the last year or so.
Okay.
Cool.
It's
Because I had that for Mac for a while. Because I couldn't ever get my volume to get up get very loud. Like it was always so quiet. So I had to use Boom in order to boost it.
Well, and then if you're listening, I do Google Play Music, and like any audio source is just so flat. And if you can tinker with it, with an equalizer, and Boom is great for it. And I think it's only like $15 for a license you can install on 2 machines. So
That's like the first thing I do when I get like into a new car, rental car, or buy a new car. Like boost the treble, bring the bass up a little bit, bring the mids down. So like anytime I can't adjust it on here, I can't believe they don't even have any like Windows just basic EQ.
Realtek, depending on your motherboard, Realtek a lot of times will often have either a driver that you can install or sometimes
motherboard driver.
Yeah, that will. Like my laptop has the Bang & Olufsen speakers, so it has an equalizer built in as well.
See, I don't have room for studio speakers, and I know when you're mixing music, you're supposed to be using like studio monitors, and actually, a lot of people recommend not having a sub. And so what I end up doing is I mix with my Bose headphones, and for low latency, I plug them in. However, Bose headphones are so bass heavy to begin with that you end up mixing it wrong, and so that might
heavier
help.
bass ones are Beats by Dre.
Yeah. It's weird. It's like Bose headphones are great for listening to music and they have great bass, but they're not good for mastering.
That's
There's no way.
actually really surprising because usually their home theater systems are the opposite. Very clean treble, but in order to get anything out of the woofer, I mean, you have to have it on max, and even then, it's still your explosions aren't as grand as I like.
I used to install home theaters, so I didn't care for Bose ever. They were painful to install, and you could get a lot more bang for your buck with going through like Definitive or Yamo or other brands along that line. Personal preference.
Now, what about app? What is your favorite go-to app when you pull out your phone?
Ooh.
Speaking of apps, Procreate just updated to version 5 with the animation
with the
stuff.
animation tools?
Yeah,
Sweet.
just came out today.
Awesome.
Yep.
I would say my go-to app lately is the Wave app to check if my invoices have been paid.
Yeah, right.
Where's my money?
Christmas is coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I got people to pay that are helping me out on projects as well. And I'm always having to send out estimates and everything else. So actually, I'm going to hire maybe a secretary next year or something.
Wish I had money for a secretary.
I don't. This is all.
That would be fun.
Training your daughter.
I'll be lucky to have money for a CPA, which I'm definitely going to need this year. So.
My two go-to apps are actually ones that I don't go to use. They're integrated. So I'm an Android user. The first one is Tasker, which is basically allows you to automate anything on your phone. So I've got it set to when I connect to a cell tower at work on Monday through Friday between like 6:45 and 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. It puts my phone into silent and vibrate mode. But as soon as I disconnect from that tower, it brings it back, full volume. And then on like Saturdays, Sundays, it's not typically a work day or nobody's at the office, so it doesn't do that.
That's cool.
That's interesting. I like that. Yeah, like once you're connected to that network, like changing your settings. Apple should do that.
Something that I think all phones should have the option of doing, which I don't know why this isn't a bigger thing. I don't know if it's a default on Android or just an app you can get, but if you turn your phone upside down on the table, it's on silent.
Yeah.
Yep, and it vibrates twice to let you know that it does it.
Yeah.
I'm about to try that.
I think it may not be enabled by default. At least it wasn't on my Pixel. I got the Pixel 3. But then I got another one that's custom live wallpaper. It's hard to describe, so I'll see if I can hold it up to the camera here.
Yeah, no, it's just a wallpaper that moves, right?
But you can make your own.
Oh, that's cool.
As this is animating here.
That's pretty cool.
Those don't look like blood cells or anything.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a skier first, so.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. What's the name of that? What's the name of that app, by the way?
I believe it might be for iPhone, but it's custom live wallpaper. KLWP.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean the other one.
Tasker.
Tasker. Is it
Tasker.
is it spelled like Web 2.0, like TASKR?
No, TASKER.
Okay.
It's got 2 R's and a Z.
Yeah. So it's good.
Z at the beginning.
There is one I wanted to add. I forgot about. It was I should probably open an app that I initially grabbed to log hours. It's called Hours Tracker, and I'm sure there's better stuff
With the
out
pig
there,
on it?
But pig?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
There's one
No.
with a pig for the logo. I know a couple people who use that.
No, this
I
logo
use it
has
for
like a clock and a dollar sign. So like I'll keep
Weird.
track of all the clients. So if I'm working for a different client, like I clock in under their name. The only
Mine is a clock
I'm
and a
actually looking
piggy
for
bank. It's the same map though.
It is.
Weird. Yeah.
We
That's
we
weird.
used to use one called Toggle. I don't even know if they're still around. We now have one that's kind of internally developed to track our time.
Now, Chris, do you use it? Do you like hit start on it like some people do and track it that way, or you just use it to just type in numbers?
No, I actually hit start.
You do?
Yeah, I mean because I get pulled away so much, with the new baby and stuff. If I'm working from home, the girlfriend thinks I'm on paternity leave if I'm working from home or something, and I don't have anything. I don't have anything that I'm actually working on. And then if I go to different clients, because the only pitfall of it is sometimes a client has me traverse back and forth between projects. So like Monday I go and I might work on this project, and Tuesday I might work on another project, which are different estimates, different PO numbers, different invoices, and I have I have to manually like use the little notes built into Windows, that always stay on your screen, or Post-it notes or something, to keep track of that. So I may look for a different one. If anybody has any suggestions.
All right, now last one here is your favorite life hack, which, as we always say, Mitch Myers, his favorite life hack is turn the toaster on its side for some bomb-ass grilled cheese.
I was at the grocery store this morning. I dropped off my kid. I went to the grocery store because I wanted to do a little bit of grocery shopping, and I saw a little sleeve that you put a grilled cheese in, and then you put it in the toaster. I was like,
theoretically, you're going to want that
cheese.
because when you do put it on its side in the toaster, it could drip.
I'll say you could have a big, big smoky mess.
Yeah.
For me, it's not really a life hack, but an air fryer.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been considering
and then
that.
There's also, because you can do not just fried stuff, and you can do all kinds of stuff, but the other thing that my neighbor actually showed me, because they have a daughter a month older than ours, there is a Keurig for baby formula.
I've seen that. I've seen that.
And it spits it out in 6 seconds to 10.
How hard is it just to go whomp whomp, shake it up, and you're done?
Well, because
formula is so expensive already.
It puts a lot of air in there, and if you want it higher than body temp, you gotta warm it up. Use a bottle warmer or whatever.
Yeah, see, I never
warmed it up.
Any bottle.
This thing has powder all in it. You dump all the powder in it.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen it.
You just go boop. 6 seconds, you have 4 ounces of.
Yeah, and it's like $200 or $300.
It's $300.
Yeah.
When the kid is screaming, when the kid is screaming, and you can get the bottle to the baby that much faster.
Nah.
And
then you're like, oh crap, it's out of water.
Yeah.
Oh, what am I gonna do? Oh, I gotta refill. Hold on, I gotta refill the water.
See, and then they grow up to be entitled because they get everything right away.
Yep.
Try it out, kid. Try it out.
Yeah.
That's.
Did
you get one of the little owlet things for their feet, like that measures?
we did, and we like sent it back 2 weeks later.
Really? Oh man.
It wasn't working. It kept saying out of sync or out of range.
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
You're the second person to tell me that, and I bought one, and I'm like, maybe I should return it. So basically, it's a little sock that goes on their foot that measures their heart rate and their oxygen levels. So like if they're in trouble, you can run in there and check.
For SIDS.
Eric's like,
okay.
That thing's not real.
No, I'm
Dude.
just like, holy helicopter parent. I mean,
Every
Yeah,
time.
but still, like, for the first 6 months of my kids, like my first
For
kid,
SIDS,
you know, it's
to be
like,
worried about SIDS, right?
yeah, exactly. You know,
Yeah.
so I was constantly in fear that I was gonna wake up, you know, and have to deal with an unfortunate event or whatever. But it's
Yeah.
like, so I was thinking with the owl or whatever, I might have a little bit of like, I might be able to sleep at night.
Plus, you'll have a Wise camera.
She kept shifting it off her foot, like
Yeah.
just enough to where it would send an alert to both of our phones, and then the app doesn't let you silence the alert. You have to literally like go in, load the app, and like turn it off or fix it on her foot. So you just have this blaring alarm coming from two different directions in the house, and we're both running, and it's just just off her foot a little bit. So we're just like, nah, we could use $200 somewhere else.
Yeah.
But that was our experience. Maybe we got a faulty one.
Yeah, they're normally, well, you and my brother, the only people who I've ever known who've had them, have told me that they're crap.
Well, we got it because we've had many people tell us it's amazing.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll try it. I'm just worried I won't be able to get my money back. Maybe I'll just sell it on eBay.
They took ours back.
Yeah. Dave, did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. You were very still for a second.
Oh, I was just reading. I was just reading my notes. Okay, Eric,
Okay.
what's yours?
well, along the air fryer, the Instant Pot, the electric pressure cooker.
Yeah.
It's killer because it can make a whole thing of jambalaya in it in about 40 minutes. Like make beef ribs that normally boil for like 3 hours that can be done in 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
See, I've heard though that you have to like let it pressurize first and then let it depressurize, and
Well, it depends.
sometimes it's almost just as fast to just make it.
That's true. I mean, depending on what you're cooking. But like if I'm just steaming vegetables or something, I'll just do that on the stove. Because you're right, you got to let it pressurize, and that's a lot of volume. But depressurization depends on what you're cooking. But there's a valve that you just open up and blow all the pressure out within 30 seconds. But a true life hack. So I'm from the Midwest. A lot of corn where I grew up. We ate a lot of sweet corn. When you cook your corn, you can do it in the microwave, but do it in the microwave with the husk still on. All right.
So you get like a thing of popcorn, right?
No. Hear me out.
No?
So once it's cooked, pull it out, cut off the bottom, and then grab the husk at the top and start twisting it. It'll squeeze the ear of corn out the bottom, and all the silk will stay inside the husk, and you don't have to pick all the individual silks off.
Oh, gotcha.
True life hack. It works.
There you go.
All right.
That's pretty good.
All right.
That's all I got.
I'm with you.
Well, we got two emails that I wanted to go to real quick. One is like just a chat, and the other one is actually a question. So I'm just going to read them off real quick. This one, and I forget what episode this is referring to. But this first comment. Oh, this is about episode 200 here. This is from. It's Nage, which I'm sure is not Nage, but probably Nage or Nog. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Maybe it's
Naga. Not gonna work here anymore.
Classic.
Okay, which says, I listened to this on a bus at work. It's rather hard not to laugh aloud when you guys are in my ears. Also, congrats. Better late than never. And, but also from the same person, I'm listening to your podcasts on commute at work and sort of go backward to the older ones as I haven't listened to yet. Anyways, in this episode, you mentioned moving from Mac OS to Windows PC. As all the Mac OS lovers, changing to Windows is difficult. Damn you, Apple. Why can't you give us the GPUs we need? I experienced the sadness and torture myself. However, when you mentioned Finder and the column navigation through files, I decided to leave you guys a message. The lovely and beautiful thing that makes my life in Windows dreaded environment easier is called One Commander.
Back
I
before,
looked this up the other day. It's kind of neat, but I didn't love the UI of it.
I think my friend Jeremy would appreciate this. He was looking for something like this. I think he said back before I had switched to Apple, I used to have Total Commander that supports FTP, and I had the 2-column interface, and I wanted something like that but updated. So One Commander can be downloaded and installed directly from Microsoft Store. Yuck, that thing needs a redesign.
Yeah.
Or you can find it laying somewhere else for free. In One Commander, there are 2 options, and one of them will give you a look similar to Max Finder. It also enables the user to check images by hitting the space bar. Anyway, the way I used it is not what Finder looks like, but that's the beauty of it. I can switch and change the UI as I want now. It's got some unpleasant things too. For example, if you have to reboot your PC, it may happen that One Commander won't even open. In their FAQ, I found that if you need to hold some buttons, while starting it. Weird. No idea if that works because I hadn't checked the FAQ before my Windows died on me, and had to reinstall One Commander, and I lost all my favorites, lost all my tabs. I guess you have these favorite tab things you can do. Sorry for the long post, but if someone missed Apple Finder, maybe One Commander will be a good thing to check out. Unfortunately, there's no option to use the color tag on the folders and files. So.
Yeah, because it's pretty ugly.
I think that people coming from Mac to Windows should maybe check out, like the Stardock tools. Those are Stardock. They have, like I have fences where all my desktop is basically segregated off to, I want any new files or documents saved on my desktop goes to this little container. It's just organizing, dealing with folders, dealing with files. You can even tab your file explorer. Yeah, like a web browser. Yeah, which is great because if you're an artist, you've got like a texture folder open, you've got a reference folder open, you've got this, you've got that, but you could have it all in one. Right. And just click the tabs.
All right, so Chris, you're the only other one that I've ever heard that has used that. The thing that annoyed me about this, and is there a workaround for this? I use the Alt-Tab, switching shortcut a lot. The thing that annoyed me the most about the Stardock, the tabbing, was that visually all the windows would be tabbed and that would be organized, but in your Alt-Tab menu, you still have each individual window or whatever, Explorer window that you have to tab across. So if you've got 5 Windows Explorers open, you still have 5 of them in your Alt-Tab menu. Yeah. Is there a way around that?
I'm not sure. I haven't used all the Stardock stuff. I did use a few things back in the day, but most recently, the only thing I really use is Fences. Okay. Which I absolutely love. It allows you. It just allows you to create these little half-transparent containers and organizers on your desktop, and then whenever you create a new file or save a new file, you can basically say, hey, this file's in documents container. Anything that's a photo or a text file, I want to go here. Anything that's a program, I want to go in this container. Anything that's a folder, I want to go in this container. And you can just double-click your desktop and hide everything.
Neat.
Great for when you're running dual 32-inch 4K monitors, right?
Yeah.
They're like beaming sunshine. I haven't been able to get the light right in this place at all.
You get a tan.
Or just cancer, maybe.
Yeah.
More likely.
Yeah, and then it's weird. At the bottom, it says Eva. So I don't know. I don't know if this person. I don't know if this person's name on YouTube is the same as, I don't know. Anyway, the last email, and maybe you can help with this. This is from Palmer Nicholas. Says, I'm looking for some advice on how to put together a job request without upsetting people. My company, Lumen and Forge, is installing a projection system in a colossal dome venue coming up the next few months. Can't talk specifics, but they're also tasked with putting together a content package for it.
I'm partially inspired by the content request you did with Deadmau5, and I know there was some backlash, hence that's why I want your advice. Now, if you remember Deadmau5, the whole premise of that is the first time we went up there, people wanted the template because they just wanted to mess around with it. So the second time we said, here, we'll preemptively put the template out here so you can mess with it. And people were like, oh, you want free content? And we're like, no, we don't want free content. If you would like to mess around with it and send us something, yes, but we are not asking for free content. So what what this person is saying is, I'm not asking for anything for free. I do have a budget to pay people, but I also want to make the budget go as far as it can go. It's a really cool opportunity to make whatever VJ style content and have it used like in a massive dome. I'm open to just about any style. People can repurpose old project files, dailies, etc. to work in full dome. Final render spec is 4K by 4K fisheye. We can even pay Pixelplow to do final render if we like the content submitted. Additionally, this is just the basic in-house content. Shall be used as a menu for clients. Think major hip-hop artists to choose from that will be paid at premium rates, I guess, later on. So I guess so the question is, you have X amount of budget from somebody and you want to figure out how to make that stretch, but you don't want to do it in a way that everybody feels like they're working for free. But you also maybe, I guess, want to put a little element into it of, it's not exposure dollars, but this is just a cool, fun thing to work on. How do you go about that and not piss anybody off?
Well, the biggest thing is you have to you would need to say, here it is, just lay it out and say, I'm not looking for any work. You don't have to do it if you don't want, you know, you got to make it, talking about paying them is good enough. Well, not good enough. It depends. I mean, if it's $10, then it's not good enough.
At least you're paying, though, I think is the big thing.
Right.
You're not asking for things for free. You're saying, here's the amount. You can take it or you can leave it. If somebody wants to mess around with 360 stuff and they want to give this a go, they'll get a little something for it. And I would hope that people wouldn't be really like pissed off or upset or anything about that.
You can hope that, but it's going to happen. Did you see like the post from Christian Bailing?
Oh.
Have a Shaq announce the contest.
No, from who?
Shaq, the whole Shaq
No. Chris, you said Christian who?
Christian Bailing, I think his name is. I think he's in the Slack, but he's also on like the Octane forum. But anyways, he posted something up for either his company or a company he does work with about like, hey, we need this much done. This is how much we have. And then he was getting chastised through the comments of like, well, that's not enough. And I'm like, that's not really true. Like it's worth that much to somebody else. Like for instance, if I say I have a budget for somebody to do this, like you don't have to do it. If it's not enough money for you, there are upcoming artists or people getting started or people in Asia or wherever, which maybe it does cannibalize the market a little bit when people do it for cheaper. But, we all start somewhere. I mean, none of us started charging, premium rates for our work.
Right.
And he was actually paying reasonable raise. I think it was like somewhere like 60 an hour or something, and like people were like, oh no, that's ridiculous, blah blah blah. I'm like, that's not ridiculous.
Imagine that's not bad
for
for a lot of people.
Studios that hire 3D artists, they don't pay that much. Maybe half that. I mean, that's better than studios pay. So you're always going to piss somebody off, Dave.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Dave, come on.
Yeah. Nobody's ever satisfied,
But it's nobody else's business. Like, if they have a budget set aside and this is what they have to offer, it's like, hey, I have this piece of furniture for sale. This is how much I'm charging for it. If you don't want it, then don't buy it.
/r/choosing beggars.
Yep.
People just want to chastise, and it is unfortunate, but
yeah. Okay, well, we had a pretty long show today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're almost at 2.5 hours. We really appreciate y'all being on. It was a fun chat. It was fun.
Totally.
Are either of you?
Thanks for having us.
You going
thanks for having
to?
me.
I know Chris, you got the new kit. Are you gonna make it out to NAB this year or?
Yeah.
You bring the kid.
I mean,
I'm bringing mine. You think I'm joking? You think I'm joking? I'm bringing him.
it depends. If they need somebody to help out at like the demo stations and stuff, sure. I don't think I can.
We could just get like a little playpen for the two of them. We'll just put them in there together. You know.
Yeah, you need
They can
a
hang
Put them
out.
in the booth with Dave.
Yeah.
Mograph daycare.
Yeah.
The past 6
The
years
Mocare.
I've been to NAB, so I'll probably be there.
Yeah.
I'd definitely be at the next Camp Mograph. I like the
Good.
Yeah.
Tickets on sale April 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Thanasis
Wow.
knows
At
man,
NAB.
knows man Skypes me and says good riddance. If I'm not at NAB.
Yeah.
You're dead to me. Yeah.
You're gonna miss me, Daddy.
Yeah. Eric, you going to any of these meetups here pretty soon?
I don't know. We'll see. See what my schedule looks like. We're getting the last year. Hey, we've got so many dollars to spend, so let's get
send
a
them
project
my way.
going, right?
I'll spend some of your dollars.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if I'm hopefully make it up to SIGGRAPH next year. We'll see. This next year is also the 75th year for our industry's annual conference, and a lot of times they either overlap or they're like back to back. I'm trying to take a week and a half off of work to hit both conferences is a little, not really smiled upon by upper management.
What is that in DC? Is that in DC in 2020?
SIGGRAPH's in DC,
Yep.
but our annual conference is in Phoenix in July. I don't know who made that decision, but
I'd rather be in Phoenix.
I'd rather be
I
in
think.
DC.
It's a dry heat. It's still hot.
it's hot.
I'm not even talking about temperature. I'm just talking about. I'm just not a huge fan of DC.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well.
I
A lot
love
of hot
DC.
air out there.
It's one of my favorite cities.
You
ever.
either love it or you hate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna take off next week. Herrerasaurus is gonna be on.
Woot woot.
That'll be fun, and possibly we're gonna have a segment. We got to work out the details. Either next week or the week after. Well, probably not the week after. That's the Christmas show. But to have Jules on to talk a little more about Octane 2020, and so that's gonna be a lot of fun. We got a really, really great schedule coming up with a lot of great guests. If you are not subscribed to the newsletter yet, make sure you do that. You can see all the stuff that's going on. The events have kind of died out for the year, but there's some streams and things we're going to be doing, and so make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. You can rate us on iTunes, leave a review, subscribe to our show on your podcatcher of choice, helps get our ratings up. Leave a little comment, let people know what you think about the show. You can say you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt with the Mograph logo tee, the Paul Babb Feel the Bab 2020 shirt. All the profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders. And it's a very important shirt coming up this year. It's 2020. It's the year. It's the last year of the Paul Babb shirt.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Until we move on to the
2024
2024 shirt.
Yeah. And a Render Things t-shirt, hoodie, and long sleeve tee. Make sure you get that. You go to mograph.com/merch. You can get all this stuff, including the That Render is Fire shirt, which you're only allowed to wear ironically. And we're on Facebook.
Dave was wearing it the other day, and I said, "Are you wearing that ironically?"
And I said, "Of course I am. Oh, I'm always wearing it ironically."
I
And
still wear the Render Things shirt.
Render Things
Classic.
shirt is, I think, the best one that we've ever made.
it's the classic.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah. And of course, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, YouTube, mograph.com. Make sure that you subscribe to all the new channels because the old channels are going away. You won't get notifications. You won't see anything new. You'll basically forget how to do Mograph if you don't sign up.
True.
So, if people want to find you, Chris, where can they find you on the interwebs?
That or my child's nursery. They can find me at 510john.com.
And on Instagram and all that stuff too?
Yeah. I don't use them as much. Not a huge social media person unless it's for the business anyways.
Yeah. Eric, what about you? Where are you on the interwebs?
My studio, Nucleus Medical Media, is at nucleusinc.com. Me personally, I call myself a social media purist, but actually I'm just kind of lazy with it. But you can find me on Instagram. I post stuff every so often. smac.eric. That's Sci-Med Animation Consultant. And then LinkedIn, Eric Small 24.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up and we're going to get out of here. Till next week, I'm Dave.
Now, Matt.
I'm Chris.
I'm Eric.
Have a good one.
Later, yo.
See you guys.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the screen. And the
Ooh,
music.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Stand by. I'm going to take us off the air here in a second.